first thing we're going to do, we're going to talk about sales opportunities. So I'm going to introduce you to those. If you haven't seen these, they're a very cool part of the system, and they apply, in my opinion, they apply largely to people that have a somewhat complicated sales process that they have to go through. So we're going to create an opportunity card, and we're going to talk our way through what it does, and then we're going to talk about how it works and how it links to the rest of the system, because you know how nicely Synergy ties itself all together. So we've got an account, a code up at the top here, and it can automatically assign that or not. We'll look at that in a bit, and we'll just give this a little name. You can call it whatever you want. By definition, since we're talking about sales here, we're going to link to an account. So we're going to go choose an account, and we're going to choose my favorite account to work with, which is the Cozy Kitchen, and you'll see why in just a little while when we do some more things with that. And we're also going to link to a contact, and we've got, Mike Leahy works for the Cozy Kitchen, and Henry Miller, and Sally Smart, and Sally's the owner. So we're going to list Sally as the major contact here. Now, there is a project field here because, again, Synergy links to lots of different things. So you can optionally connect to a project if this opportunity arose because of some marketing that you're doing. I've got several different marketing projects that are going, so I can link to that. And now we're going to get to two fields that are unique to the opportunity, the probability and the planned amount. And for the sake of argument right now, we're just going to put a 1 into each of those, and then I'm going to discuss how those change, when they change, and how you can get better visibility into the amount of money that you might make in the future from your sales. So let's just tap in today's date here, and then we'll say that we hope this is going to close by the end of the year, and we want to follow up maybe toward the end of the month, although you'll see some action taking place irrespective of this follow-up date. All right, so now we're going to indicate the source of this opportunity, and this is a little table that you control, so you can indicate the different ways that you're marketing to people. We'll say that we got an inquiry from our website for this. And here's where some of the magic starts to happen. You use sales cycles with opportunities to move you through the natural progression of your sale. So I have two little sales cycles, a little 4-step simple one and then a 5-step one. We're going to go into this in some depth in just a few minutes, but right now we're going to choose the 5-step sales cycle. You can have as many sales cycles as you want, although having too many I think is probably going to complicate things for you. I'm going to change my currency because the division I'm in is using the euro, and I don't want to use the euro. And then, of course, we've got a targeted assortment, which might be applicable if you're trying to sell a certain product line to these people, something like that. And the good old remarks box that just about everything has in the system. All right, so we have the beginnings of an opportunity card set up, and I'll save it. And we'll notice that now we got lots and lots of other information here, right? So we created it with a small planned amount and a small probability of happening. What we're going to do now is take a look at how we can change the value that we expect to get from this opportunity if they buy something. So there are sections to this card, just like there are sections to account cards and item cards, and all of that can be edited with the wrench up here. So if there's more information than you want, you can always change it. But the section I want to focus on right now is what I'm attempting to sell the Cozy Kitchen. So down here I have an item section, and I'm going to go add a couple of items. The business that my little Synergy company is in is coffee and tea and accoutrements, if you will. So we're going to try to sell these folks some tea, and we'll just try to sell them some Earl Grey tea, and we'll just hope that we're going to sell them like 50 pounds of Earl Grey tea, because it's a pretty good sized little operation that they have. And we'll see if we can sell them some crumpets, just to be kind of silly. And we'll try to sell them 10 boxes of crumpets. So you can see some values populating over here based on the suggested retail price that these products have. The purpose of this isn't to quote them necessarily, but for the opportunity card to be managed. So notice that our planned amount stayed $1. There's a little magic calculator down at the bottom, and if I hover over it, you'll see the tooltip says it's going to update the planned amount. So I'm going to click on that, and yes, it'll update my planned amount, and my planned amount goes up to $1,150. But right now I'm not very confident about it, so I'm assigning a probability of 1%. Now, for those of you that went to any kind of business classes at any point, you understand what we're talking about when we talk about expected value or expected amount. It's taking the planned amount, multiplying by the probability, and saying, well, then the value, the expected value of this deal that we're trying to put together is that. And as the deal progresses and you become more and more confident and you increase the percentage there, it's going to increase the expected amount, and it's going to show you on a little graph how your expected value starts to rise as the sales process continues until you either get the deal or lose the deal. So we're going to keep coming back to the planned amount and the expected amount. All right, now the other thing to note here is that I made myself the owner of this opportunity, and that's going to come into play immediately because I hooked this up to a sales cycle. Some steps are now going to start appearing for me to follow our sales opportunity. All right. And we're going to go and look at that in just a minute. But before we do that, I want to continue on looking a little more at the sections in the card. So you'll see that a request has appeared already, and we're going to go there in a minute. You'll see that the contact of Sally Smart being the owner is one of the contacts, but I can add other contacts. And when I do that, because I'm hoping that I'm working on a team with this, I can indicate that Mike Leahy's also going to be a contact, and the role he plays in this opportunity is that he's part of their internal IT team, or he's part of the decision-making team, or he's an influencer. And again, you can control the role options that you have here. All right, so we've just now added this so that when my assistant in this company is George Jetson, and George can come in and look at this and see that he could talk to either Sally or Mike about this, that while Sally's the decision maker, Mike is also an influencer. Now, in addition to that, we also can indicate who we might be working with from the outside, so we can add partners to the account. So let's just say this is going to be a substantial opportunity, and they might need their bank to help out. Well, they're stored in Synergy as an associate. They're not a customer, not a vendor, they're not a lead, nothing like that. So we'll go look for associates, and I have a little bank here, and I've got a banker, and he is going to have a role too where he's an influencer. So again, I've got partners broken out from contacts, and I even have competitors broken out. So if I'm competing now against a known supplier or a known group, doesn't matter, what kind of a record it is, and I again have them stored as an associate, or possibly they even supply me some things, I can go in and I can indicate a competitor, and let's see, let's pick a good competitor. Let's find a supplier that we also do some business with. I'll show you why this is going to become helpful, because we're going to get to do more than just putting them in. We can indicate what their strengths and weaknesses are. So now when George goes to talk to Mike or goes to talk to Sally about this, he can say, well, we know that this company has this strength, but they have a weakness that they're so we can put in both strengths and weaknesses and save that to the opportunity. And now I have visibility of that, and I have ammunition when I go and talk to my customer at the next stage of this. So you can see that there's a lot of robust capability here, depending on what you want to use. Now, again, if you never want to record anything about your competition, remove the competition section from the card, and you don't even have to see it. The other thing down here at the bottom is that there's a history of the opportunity as the amounts and probabilities are changing, so that you can see the sequence of events for things. So we've got not only competitors and history and partners and contacts, there's a lot to this card. It's a very rich source of information. And it contains the timeline again, so that we have the ability to share updates. So I can share an update here. And I'm just gonna quickly type something, and down here I'm gonna go share it with George's team, because George has a team of people that work for him. And I'll post that on the timeline, and the next time George logs in and looks at his timeline, he'll see that Ann has created a new opportunity and that George is going to be working closely with him. Okay, so we've looked quickly at the card. It's got a monitor section. We're going to come back to that in just a minute, but you can see all these different sections that we have that you can use or not use as you choose to. So how does this all get set up? So we're going to dash over to modules quickly, and we're going to look at the customer module, and we're going to look at opportunity management, which is this section right here. There's a little tiny settings area, and remember I remarked on the fact that the opportunity code got pre-generated with that A and that 81, so it's or 82. It's keeping track of that here. You can set some security up here if you don't want everybody looking at opportunities. There's a role associated with it, and if you invoke this checkbox, then you can indicate who can and cannot have the role in order to be able to see the opportunities. And then you can dictate down here that if you get to the point of losing an opportunity, do you absolutely have to report a reason for losing it, so that you can start analyzing your losses, and whether or not you lost to a competitor, optional, mandatory. Anyway, so little bitty settings right there. But here's all these supporting tables. So we assigned a source to the opportunity, and this is the source table. We're not going to bother to go through the contact roles, the partner roles, the reasons lost. Again, you have control of all of these, so you can set up whatever reasons you want. And then there's the usual, enormous list of user-defined fields, dates, amounts, text, like you have with virtually every other card. And we'll come back to this little field that I added in just a few minutes. But the big thing that impacts how this worked is sales cycles. So we're going to talk about sales cycles in just a minute when we get to the workflow side of the card. So you can see that we've got, just a few supporting tables that have to be set up. So that's not difficult at all.